Hello, I'm Emily Rhodes and I'm here on Hampstead Heath. I was going to go for a little walk talk to tell you a bit about our first 4 books of 2024. I have Alfie with me in 2 coats and he's still shivering. Of course, he's never actually been to Hampstead Heath before or to any open space, and it was actually, I think he's a little bit frightened or overwhelmed. There's a lot of birds, and which are quite exciting to try and catch, but I don't know, we've been making very slow progress, and I suddenly realised actually we just need to sit on this bench, and I'll tell you about the books here. I'm also not totally sure how I was planning on holding, the dog lead and the books and the phone. So sitting on a bench is quite a good spot, and you can at least get the ambience of the heath, even if you don't see me walking. So the first book is The Ginger Tree by Oswald Wynd. I'm sorry if it's supposed to be pronounced Wynd. I will find out how to pronounce that. When I started to read this, I was just immediately absorbed in the first person diary entries. I wasn't quite expecting to be so absolutely sucked in, and I just felt myself in the book and transported and off on this adventure, and I felt it was a really good way to spend January, which I know for many of us is a bit of a tough time, a good time to disappear. We follow the journey of this young sort of Scottish girl who's engaged to marry this sort of horrible military attaché. She goes off to the Far East. She's on a boat for quite a long time, and it's sort of about how she tries to fit in, but then it all goes wrong. She has a passionate affair. I don't think there are too many spoilers, and anyway, she suddenly has to fend for herself. So yeah, it's a great book. It's very absorbing. I think it's a really good book to read now. It is quite a long book, but I think that's okay because it's such a dark time, and maybe we want long books to get lost in. I'm just going to show you Alfie. Hello. You can see he's sort of looking around, listening, slightly bewildered by the whole thing. Okay, next up we have got in February, no, that's March, hang on, that's April. I can also see now why I rely on you guys to take photos for me on the walks. I'm terrible at doing this on my phone. Anyway, February we've got My Antonia by Willa, Cather. It's a total classic, and it had just got to the point that was so embarrassing that I hadn't read anything by Willa, Cather. And it's so good, about kind of frontier life, about friendship. It's a completely different time and place, but again, I suppose not unlike The Ginger Tree, it really transports us there. And it's always interesting to notice what's the same when so much on the surface is different between now and then. What emotional things remain constant. March. Sorry to be so bad at this. March, we got The L-Shaped Room by Lynne Reid Banks. This is another book that takes me back to my book selling days. There was one bookseller in particular who loved it and just always insisted on there being a little stash of it on the till, which for those of you who don't know about book selling, that till position is kind of highly coveted. It's always for new books or kind of impulse purchases. It's not really the place where you just put a book that you really, really like for months and months on end. Anyway, it is a really good book. It's late 1950s London. Our heroine is pregnant. She goes into this sort of slightly rough boarding house. I should say it is written with a kind of extraordinary amount of racial prejudice, which is quite shocking to read now. So maybe there's a bit of a trigger warning there for you. But it's about how, even when you know, she's been sort of kicked out from home. She's got nowhere to go. Life is really tough. All she really has is this L-shaped room where she takes shelter. She kind of finds friendship. She learns to kind of fight for herself, and it's a brilliant book. And this is the book that will also be our Daunt Books Festival pick. So that will be in March, and that walk is in Regent's Park. And just to say that, as well as being here on Hampstead Heath for all 4 of our walks, we're also going to have walks in Regent's Park on Friday lunchtimes, except the festival when it's Friday morning. So it's the same book, but a different chance to walk and talk about it. And I would just say Regent's Park is rather more, I hesitate to say the word civilised, but the paths are better, there's less mud. If you're feeling nervous about slipping over or your shoes getting wrecked, maybe come to Regent's Park one, not Hampstead Heath, which can be very, very muddy at this time. Okay, finally, we have got Out Stealing Horses by Petterson, translated by Anne Bourne. This is a kind of astonishing book. It's something really terrible happens really near the beginning, and maybe if you're feeling a bit vulnerable, especially things to do with children, this might not be the right time for you to read this book, but it is so powerful. It's about an old man who wants to live kind of isolated, solitary life alone in the woods, and then he happens upon someone from his past, and then the past kind of comes to the surface, and you know, we kind of go back to the Nazi occupation and the rest of it, and this awful event that very much shaped his life. You know how important I think it is to read books in translation. It really gives us a different take on the world. You know, such a narrow view of literature, just stuff written in English. So I always try and include some books in translation in our programme. This is a really, really strong, powerful book. So I think this is so funny. I'm holding this phone here, my arm's resting on Alfie, and he's just kind of shivering. Yeah. So anyway, there's a quick introduction. I'm sorry I'm not walking, but here we are on the Heath. I can't wait to walk and talk about these books with you. 4 really great novels, very transporting, very absorbing, very powerful, that take us on various adventures, both kind of literally and spiritually, emotionally. And I think 2024 is going to be a year of adventure, or certainly a year of reading adventures for all of us. So please come and join me on the walks and on the adventures. Thanks.